All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? Hour one. John Schaefer with special guests for the 2 hours that I'm going to be here. Now, J-Riff is going to take over at 4 p.m. Now, my voice has been, here's who I blame for my voice. I blame Jim Russell, who left me during like the busiest time of my year where I'm doing San Diego State football and I'm doing San Diego State basketball and I'm traveling the country. And the Aztecs were playing triple overtime games and Jim just bails for Philadelphia. So my voice is hanging on. It's gone downhill since Saturday night. Like Saturday night, Aztecs playing triple overtime. Didn't sleep well Saturday night. Did a 4-hour show yesterday. Traveled to Reno today where the Aztecs are going to play tonight. So fortunately, Sammy Long from the Flex and from Flex Sam has offered to stick around for maybe an hour or so, maybe two. I'm here until 4 p.m. And Sammy, I appreciate you doing it, man. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for helping out. Seriously, because I don't know what I would do, honestly, without you for the next 2 hours.
Of course. Well, thank you for having me. It's a blast being on with you and Brent here. What's with Jim? The toughest time of year. We're on the road. You're calling triple overtime basketball games on Saturday. You're calling the Holiday Bowl, and all of a sudden he's just kicking it in Philly.
Yeah, again, this is kind of who Jim is, if we're going to be honest with each other. And I knew Sammy, and I think you kind of knew in the weeks leading up to it. I knew that Jim was going to be out. By the way, let me set up the show real quick. Mark Ziegler is going to join us live from Reno. We'll get you ready for the showdown tonight. I'll be on the call. Hopefully my voice makes it. I think it will. Knock on something. So Mark Ziegler will join us coming up at 3:30. If you missed Dave Velasquez, San Diego State longtime assistant, you'll hear our conversation with Dave Velasquez coming up. And also if you missed Will Brinson on last weekend in the NFL and wildcard weekend coming up, you'll hear from Will Brinson. So we've got you covered for the next couple of hours. Jonathan Rifkin's going to join us at 4 p.m. But I knew, Sammy, that Jim was going to be departing right around the first of the year. The issue with that was like, I knew that everything was like coming to a head where, again, the 4-hour show, San Diego State football, I called the Holiday Bowl on Friday night, San Diego State basketball, traveling. So the timing, I don't think the timing was ever going to be good for Jim to leave, but the timing was actually awful for him to leave. So we'll see what happens on the other side. Again, I know things are in the works. And for our listeners, hopefully we get it, we'll have it somewhat resolved, hopefully sooner rather than later. So I'm just saying, is the audio terrible on my side, Brent? Okay, the audio's okay. Maybe the audio is not very good. Potentially on YouTube. Someone check on YouTube and see if the audio is all right.
I think I muted myself, so I was doing a little echo there. But
okay.
It's convenient that Jim Russell, and we all love Jim Russell, obviously, but it's convenient that he left right in time for his Niners collapse to happen. Luckily, I still get to talk to Fletch and let him understand what's going on. But with because it was basically KMBR down here in San Diego with just Niners talk all day. But it's ironic that he dipped out right before his loss to the Seahawks.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, I kind of wanted to get him on, and then I'm like, no, I actually don't, because I don't want to deal with him crying about it for 15 minutes. All right, here's what I want you to do before we start, because I don't even know exactly, Sammy, where we should be finding you on social media. Do you want to promote Fletch Zone this afternoon? And if people find Fletch Zone on X, we can give them a shout out on air for the next couple of hours. Where should people be finding? Because you guys are on each and every day. You've been on each and every day for the better part of the last year, from 12 to 2 on San Diego Sports 760. You're doing me a solid today. I want to make sure our listeners know what you're doing each and every day. Where should our listeners be following you?
Oh, you can follow us on X at Fletch and Sammy. Yeah, it's basically Fletch and I, just the lead-ins to Jon and Jim. This is the big time radio in the afternoon. It's basically just Fletch and I gambling for 2 hours, and all our degenerate listeners who love to gamble alongside. But yes, on Twitter, on X, Fletch and Sammy, you can go give us a follow.
All right, do that right now. They'll follow you back. They didn't say that they would do that, but
yes, we will.
They're going to do it. So do that right now. We'll give you shout outs on air as well throughout the course of the show. It's at Fletch and Sammy. So it takes 2 seconds. Go to X, find at Fletch and Sammy. While you're there, if you're not following me, at John Schaefer, but at Fletch and Sammy. And if you follow right now or over the course of the next 2 hours, we'll give you a shout out. We will follow you back as well here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, so we're going to get into tonight. I know you guys touched on it as well. We'll get into wildcard weekend coming up. I want to get into the Padres as well, because AJ Preller is eerily quiet. I mean, I think about these last 3 off seasons, and it's been a bunch of quietness. It really has. I mean, whether it was, okay, so they re-signed Michael King, terrific. That is good news. I think it's encouraging. but that's like the extent of their offseason. Yes, they signed a Korean infielder. Okay, we'll see what role he plays. I sold you for 15 minutes yesterday, if you were listening to John and Coming Soon, that Chris Bassett might be an option, the Blue Jays veteran starter, because he posted like Top Gun fighter jets, and then I came to find out like in the last 24 hours he might have just been like, it was in reference like the Denver Broncos or some wedding he might have been at. So the Padres have been eerily quiet. We can get into that over parts of the next 2 hours. Let's just start with the Aztecs, Fletch, because I know you touched on that earlier today as well. For me, and tell me if you agree, San Diego State, I think nationally and even locally, has kind of been under the radar because the expectations were really high. They go out and they lose to number 1 and number 2, and they lost by 40 and 20 points to Michigan and Arizona. They had the home slip up to Troy. And then they had a squandered opportunity against Baylor where they led in the second half, but they lost the game in Vegas by 10 points. Despite all of it, they're 3-0 in the Mountain West, and I feel like today is a day, or tonight is a night, where if you win, and it will not be easy, they're a slight underdog, as you were talking about just a few minutes ago. If they win tonight, I feel like both locally and nationally, they get back into like the psyche of a college basketball fan where they're not in a field. They're maybe getting onto a bubble. I think they're still on the outside looking in. I don't know if they have to win this game because it's a long year and we're still early in the conference schedule. And this isn't like losing to Air Force, for example. But this to me is a great opportunity to get yourself back on the bubble if you can win tonight in Reno.
Well, John, you know this to the point of them being dogs or 1.5 point dogs in Nevada tonight. There's something about that when you're going on the road, and the Aztecs have been in a lot of games this year where they've been the favorite. And not only we know this in college basketball, it's not like the NBA where your goal, whether you win by 1 or 30, it doesn't matter. It's a win-loss in the column in the NBA. Whereas in college basketball, winning by the betting lines are followed off KenPom. They make those things based off, to equate 10.5 point favorites. They need to win by 11 or more. So I think it's an interesting psyche of the fact that Nevada plays 10 guys. We've talked about kind of ad nauseum of the Aztecs who have a great bench. I believe they're the 3rd best bench in the country right now because of the stats. They play 11 guys total. It's fun them going on the road, seeing who's going to close games because, I mean, we've talked about it so much. Like BJ Davis, while heading into the season, we talk about Miles Bird and Magoon Guath and Reese Dixon Waters, and we know that those 3 all have to be big time players if the Aztecs want to get to where they want to get to. Like you look at BJ Davis and it's cool seeing the different guys close games. And I think the depth is really going to come into play tonight on the road.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's interesting. You mentioned the fact that Nevada is also a deep team, like the style make fight conversation you have in boxing, where you've got teams that are, I don't know if they're similar or not. They're not built the same way, but Nevada gets a lot of production from their bench. It's one of their strengths. And San Diego State gets as much production as anyone in America from its bench. It's one of their true strengths. San Diego State has had a knack against Nevada over the years, not necessarily in Reno, where it's been kind of a coin flip, but the Aztecs have played the Wolfpack well in the Mountain West era. This would get the Aztecs to 4-0 in the league. And again, this to me is I don't know if it's the ultimate challenge. It's not playing at Utah State, but it's a real challenge because you just played Saturday. You played like this epic game that like just ended. You played this like 3-hour game that just ended. I don't know where Sammy just went, but we'll get him back in here. And now you got to turn around. You got to travel. You got a relatively quick turnaround. You got to create energy. Nevada's going to have it. They're playing, obviously, San Diego State. I don't know if it's their Super Bowl, but it's a big opportunity for the Wolfpack as well. So huge opportunity for San Diego State tonight to get, again, back on the bubble is what I would say. So opportunity for the Aztecs, opportunity as well. All right, let me get Sammy. Where'd you go, Sammy?
My camera's spazzing out right now, so I'm trying to fix it, but
that's all right.
We'll figure it out.
You'll take care of that. Before we switch gears to Wild Card Weekend, and again, you're going to hear from Dave Velasquez. Mark Ziegler is going to join us live. You'll hear from Will Brinson. Would you agree? I mean, just in general, with like this has become the Padres' MO a little bit. That it's just, we're going to be quiet, we're going to strike, but we're going to be very calculated. The days of the freely spending Padres are probably over. They're still, they're going to be top 10 in payroll. They're going to go over the luxury tax number, but a lot of the money is already committed. Like I see today, this is from Foul Territory. Talking Friars tweeted about it within the last hour. Like the top 10 available free agents, I don't think the Padres are in on any of them. I mean, obviously not Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette or Alex Bregman or from a pitching perspective, Framber Valdez or Cody Bellinger. You get down to Ranger Suarez, Eugenio Suarez, the hitter. Zach Gallen, I want to say, is represented by Scott Boras. Then there's JT Realmuto. There's a Lucas Giolito, who's a veteran, starting pitcher. Would you agree that the days of the free spending Padres has probably come to an end? It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. I think they have enough to win with what they have. Calculated moves like Nick Pivetta last year paid off. The signing or re-signing of Michael King hopefully pays value for the Padres in 2026. But you're not waiting for the other shoe to drop, are you? You're not expecting some big deal to come between now and the start of spring training, are you?
Well, I think you said it. That's why it's frustrating. Like ESPN had a kind of report today that, Tucker, Bregman, Bichette, and Bellinger, there's kind of a standoff. All four, none of them have signed yet because they're all waiting to see who's going to sign so they can all kind of top that in value. It does suck that you see the Padres and they're not in on all these guys when like Bo Bichette would be a fantastic fit, in my opinion, for the Padres. There's so many guys that they just simply don't have the money for. Now, I do want to give AJ Preller some love because I know there's been a lot about him, but to your point about Michael King coming back, I mean, you looked at this pitching staff before with Nick Pivetta and then Joe Musgrove coming off an injury. Before you re-sign Michael King and expecting Joe Musgrove coming off an injury to be your number 2 starter and eating up bulk innings was probably not a successful regular season for the Padres. I think that AJ Preller, even though I know it's a 3-year, $75 million deal, and it's essentially just 3 1-year, $25 million contracts, the way that AJ Preller has been able to kind of get around the lack of spending from ownership amid the sell and put together a starting rotation that I think they need a couple more guys, but is in a much better spot than a month ago. But no, to your question, unfortunately, I don't think the shoe's about to drop. What do you think?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's like you're never going to be in a position, at least you're not going to be in a position right now. We don't know about the future ownership of the team, to your point, and we're not that far removed from Peter Seidler fielding a team that was top 3 in payroll, incredibly, earlier this decade, where they did have a payroll that was similar to the LA Dodgers, but that cannot be the expectation. And now it's about having as complete of a roster as you can have with the resources that you have, and knowing a lot of your money is going to be tied up as well. I mean, your money's going to be tied up in the Machados and the Tatises and the Bogarts and the Musgroves and whatever else you have tied up. So, no, I mean, I think they're going to have to do more with less, which isn't always the worst thing in the world. Truthfully, I do think they still need starting pitching. I go back and forth here. Do they need a power hitter, or do they need a starting pitcher? And I think I keep leaning back to starting pitching now, because the way the Padres are built, the way they play at Petco Park, which is a pitcher's park, you can't have enough starting pitching. You can't have enough pitching in general. I think they'll figure out a way with their offense. They should have enough with their offense, but I think it's all predicated on starting pitching. I would go back to the well from a starting pitching perspective if I was AJ Preller, and we'll see if that's what he does or not between now and the start of spring training or the start of opening day. We'll get some of the video taken care of here on the other side. We are here until 4 p.m. Jonathan Rifkin's going to take over at 4 p.m. Now, we have a really good show lined up for you. If you missed Dave Velasquez yesterday, longtime Aztec assistant, getting ready for tonight, you'll hear from Dave Velasquez coming up at 2:30. Will Brinson joined us as well. You'll hear from Will on the crazy Week 18 in the NFL. It was just insane. And now everything that's in store in Wild Card Weekend as well. Mark Ziegler from the UT is going to join us live at 3:30. And again, John Schaefer and Sammy Long hanging out. If you want to follow Fletch Zone on social media, that's at Fletch and Sammy. They will follow you back this afternoon. Sammy Long from Fletch Zone hanging out this afternoon at Fletch and Sammy on X. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll switch our attention over to Wild Card Weekend on the other side. Who's a sleeper coming out of Wild Card Weekend that can reach a Super Bowl in 2026? Stay with us right here on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, with you on San Diego Sports 760, John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin will be in at 4 p.m. Aztec basketball coming up tonight at 8. Pregame coverage at 7. San Diego State's got a big one against the Wolfpack of Nevada here in Reno. I'm trying to preserve my voice. Sammy is really the unsung hero today because he's helping out here for the next couple of hours. Again, if you want to follow what they're doing each and every day, Fletch and Sammy, they are on X. You can follow at Fletch and Sammy on X. So you can do that right now. I see our buddy James has followed here this afternoon, some others as well.
Yeah, shout out to James.
Yeah, at Fletch and Sammy on X if you want to give them a follow. I mentioned that we were going to mention Wild Card Weekend, maybe a sleeper coming out of this opening weekend of the NFL postseason. But we have a breaking and developing NFL story involving John Harbaugh, Sammy, who is out as Ravens head coach. So Tyler Loop misses that field goal that would have sent the Ravens to a division title in a home playoff game. He misses from 44 yards, and the veteran head coach of the Ravens, I think surprisingly, right? I mean, I know he's been there for forever. He could get a job at a moment's notice if he wanted one. John Harbaugh is out as Ravens head coach.
Well, I'm shocked by that. And now it is kind of funny because you've seen there's been a lot of reports of dissension between Lamar and him. There were some reports about would Lamar want to go to Miami? Would Lamar be on the move? I remember talking with Fletch a couple of days ago. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna get rid of Harbaugh before they get rid of Lamar Jackson. Like that's just, John Harbaugh's a great head coach, but quarterbacks who win multiple MVPs also don't just grow on trees. So John Harbaugh, I'm shocked. I'm in that division. I'm surprised that a guy like Zach Taylor from the Cincinnati Bengals, who the only thing he's ever done was go to the Super Bowl one time in 2021, is staying with the Bengals, and John Harbaugh, the legendary coach, is out. Now, if I'm John Harbaugh, I think he's got his pick of the litter. Like the Giants is certainly an attractive job with Jackson Dart, Neighbors, and Scatabo. The Raiders with the number 1 overall pick, maybe Fernando Mendoza going with Genti and Bowers. There's a lot of teams that I think Harbaugh immediately goes to the top of the list of any NFL head coaching candidate out there. Where would you like to see him go, John?
I mean, I guess my question would be, if you're Baltimore, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Sometimes, okay, can you wear out a welcome? I mean, look no further than the Andy Reid situation in Philadelphia and what the other side looked like. Obviously, the second act for Andy Reid was a lot better than the first act. So, and I think in Philadelphia, the belief at that point was it probably made sense. It's like sometimes the message gets staler. It's not necessarily a knock on the head coach. It's just like you've been there and maybe it's just time for a new voice, and it's not an indictment on the head coach. But if you're Baltimore, are you really going to do better than John Harbaugh? I mean, one of the most respected coaches in football, a professional, a winner, seemingly has Baltimore in the postseason each and every year. Certainly wasn't his fault. Tyler Loop missed from 44 yards the other day. That's the story for me. It's not really about where John Harbaugh lands, although I guess that is a significant story. But I'm much more fascinated by what's the other side look like for Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, as opposed to, okay, he ends up with the Raiders or the Giants. Well, you're probably a couple of years away from, relevance. It's not like we're going to be talking about John Harbaugh taking the Raiders to the Super Bowl in 2026 or the Giants in the Super Bowl in 2027 or something like that. What do you think Baltimore could potentially be thinking in terms of, available candidates to replace John Harbaugh? I mean, it's so early.
That's why I'm so shocked, because it's like it was already a weak NFL head coaching cycle. It was right. Jesse Minter, the DC from the Chargers. You got Dable, who got fired, but Dable, it didn't really work out in New York. That's only because he kind of fixed Josh Allen when Josh Allen looked like he was going to be a bust when he was the OC in Buffalo. So I don't really know where they're going to go from this. I mean, unless you're poaching some big college football head coach. I know Cignetti's been linked to the Raiders, but I highly doubt that Kurt Cignetti from Indiana is coming into Baltimore. That doesn't make a lot of sense for me. So I don't really know where they're going to go. Maybe Lamar got tired of him and just the organization, but this doesn't make a lot of sense for me, especially in a division where the Ravens, the reason they weren't in the playoffs is because Lamar Jackson was hurt for half the year and the entire defense got hurt.
Listen, is 2012 a long time ago for a Super Bowl title? Yeah,
right.
But it still counts, and he's got nearly 200 wins. He's one of the winningest coaches in the history.
Like 12 all time, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so this isn't just some guy that was up and down. To your point, like a Bengals situation. Okay, he took the Bengals to the Super Bowl. That is impressive, but this is a guy that has consistently put his team in a position to reach the postseason and has won a Super Bowl. It's like you look at a Mike Tomlin, obviously in Pittsburgh. I mean, this is one of the more accomplished, successful head coaches in football. And my guess, and to your point, is like if he wants to coach, he's coaching. He's 63, which in today's NFL, isn't old. I think look at Pete Carroll was older than that, and Andy Reid certainly has been coaching for forever. I mean, you can coach into your 70s if you wanted to. So I think there's a second act for John Harbaugh. And it is interesting. I guess if you're Baltimore, we say this sometimes with Buffalo. It's like, if not now, then when? Like, Kansas City's not in the postseason, and now either are you. And that probably is looked at internally like this was an opportunity that was squandered, and it's not Tyler Loop's fault we're not in. And I would agree with that. It's not like it came down to one kick, and that's the reason why Baltimore didn't have a good year. And now look at Buffalo. It's like if you're Josh Allen, if you're the regime,
totally.
If you're the coaching staff, it's like if you don't take advantage now, and if you go out this weekend, if you're Buffalo, what does the other side look like for the Bills with Kansas City not in, with Baltimore not in? When you've got the Lamar Jacksons and the Josh Allens, at some point you're gonna have to reach a Super Bowl, aren't you?
Well, yeah. If in terms of Josh Allen, I don't know that we've ever had a single player have more pressure on them in a postseason. To your point, Lamar, Mahomes, Burrow, not there. 0-4 against Mahomes in the postseason. 0-1 against Burrow. Burrow beat him in his house. Like, there's really no excuse. The one thing I would give Lamar Jackson over a guy like Sean McDermott, if the Bills were to lose and he were to get blown out. I mean, you look at Brent's Bears. Like, Ben Johnson has completely made the offensive route Caleb Williams and helping him succeed. Brent can talk to that, but it's like, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson was a guy that people told would play corner in the NFL or receiver. And I think the Ravens deserve a lot of credit for building an offense when at a time when Lamar was being drafted, a lot of people thought a quarterback like him that's a kind of a runner first and not some huge arm passer would never work. Harbaugh building an offense around him has blossomed Lamar into what Lamar is. I'm just curious who they bring in to kind of continue that trajectory going forward.
Do you think Sean McDermott would be in jeopardy if they lost this weekend?
100%, because it's one.
He would have to be.
It's one thing. I think he should. I think he's been holding Josh Allen back, but it's one thing to lose to Reid and Mahomes in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But it's another thing too if they lose to the Jags, or if you lose to Bo Nix or Drake May or guys who haven't been there before, and now you're sitting there going, I mean, where's the hardware? Where is it? And it's not like you're getting rid of Josh Allen. So I think the first victim certainly is McDermott.
I'll say it right now. John Harbaugh will be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
the Dallas Cowboys.
That would be a great move.
Yeah, because they waited way too long to hire their last coach, and they had to settle on Schottenheimer, and he didn't do anything, that terrific. So I think Jerry's going to want to try and make a splash while they still have Dak and that. So yeah, I think he'll be the Cowboys head coach.
What if he's the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills?
goes across his AFC rival. But Brent, to your point, I think that would be a big hire, and certainly I think would cause a lot more, especially in an organization that does not have stability in Dallas. Harbaugh being there would bring more than Schottenheimer would.
Yeah, and he'll be coveted. There's no question about it. We'll get back to this conversation again. John Harbaugh let go by the Baltimore Ravens after finishing again outside the postseason, losing on Sunday night to Pittsburgh in that quest to win a division title. We'll get back to the Aztecs coming up next. If you missed our conversation with Dave Velasquez, longtime Aztec assistant, as San Diego State gets ready for Reno tonight, Nevada tonight in Reno. You'll hear from Dave Velasquez on the other side. Will Brinson at 3 p.m. and Mark Ziegler will join us live at 3:30. Stay with us right here on San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
The support is sponsored by Unbound.org. The Aztecs are on the road in Nevada to take on the Wolfpack tonight. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip after 8 o'clock. And in breaking NFL news, the Ravens have fired John Harbaugh. Harbaugh was 12th all-time in wins. We will see what they will do next. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
John Schaefer, Sammy Long back with you here until 4. Jonathan Rifkin takes over at 4. I'll be on the call tonight, San Diego State and Nevada from Reno. And again, if you missed it, we had Dave Velasquez join us yesterday. So this is pre-recorded. This is referencing tonight's game in Reno between the Aztecs and the Wolfpack. Started the conversation, though, by going back to Saturday's epic 3 overtime win for the Aztecs and asking Dave Velasquez, the veteran assistant coach, if he's ever been involved or how many games he's been involved in like Saturday's.
Well, obviously not many. I mean, in anybody's career, you're not going to have too many of those type of games. And I think you missed about 76 other adjectives to use to describe that game. I think incredible is one of them. Amazing. I mean, it was as wild as it comes. But at the same time, I mean, somebody had to win that game, and we're fortunate and we're lucky to be the ones that came out on top. And there's so many different things you could point at to how it ended up in that situation for both teams. But at the end of the day, one of us had to win. And like I said, happy it was us.
Dave Velasquez with us right now here on San Diego Sports 760. Over the course of a season, you're always learning about your team. What about over the course of a game? Like what does it take to be in that spot? And at one point, the deck is stacked against you. I mean, it goes from looking really good to not looking very good. What does it take when you're in those spots to overcome the adversity and find ways to win?
Yeah, I mean, it shows a lot of character. I mean, that was one of the things. And you could say the same thing about them, about how they came out in the second half. And really, it was not even just the second half. In the first 5 minutes, we played pretty well defensively. It was kind of that last 15 minutes. They went through an unbelievable stretch. But for us, it showed a lot of our, again, showed our depth, showed that, when we need all our pieces to win. It was unfortunate that we lost Magoon with about 11 minutes to go in the game, which just wasn't feeling okay. He took a little hit to his hip early in the game. I mean, he came out, he was awesome. He was 3 for 3 from the field. He had 2 threes. I mean, he was, doing pretty well defensively, and then to lose him and have other guys step up. And at the same time, we had no Tay Simmons, who was hurt that night. And so again, you hear all about our depth all year. And then that night's where it really showed to me on how many pieces we have that can help us win. But at the same time, John, you know me well enough. I'm not positive Pam here when I come to our team at all times. I mean, we got to be better. We got to be more consistent. We got to put 40 minutes together. You can't, have a Arizona type situation, 3 games or 2, the third game after Arizona, where you play this awesome first half or you play to the standard you expect to play to. Let's not say awesome. You play to a standard that we expect to play to. And then unfortunately in the second half, to our defensive standard, to give up 50 points to anybody in one 20-minute half, it's not good enough. So there's a lot of positives that we learned. There's also some things that obviously we knew about that we have to continue to harp on. And as a program, from coaches, players, everybody involved, that we have to find a way to play 40-minute games because that's what it takes to win.
Dave Velasquez with us right now on Jon and Jim. So we learned today from the league that BJ Davis was named Player of the Week, deservedly so. What he did down the stretch, I thought, against San Jose State. And, of course, the plays he made. I mean, that was one of the great just overall plays. Dutch talked on this a little bit post-game, but can you speak on just that? It's not just an individual effort, but the play he made there from the R.J. Keene pass that he intercepted and then him hitting that shot. Can you just speak to his evolvement, I guess, over the course of his junior year?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a big time moment for DJ. To in both games, you mentioned San Jose State, and then you mentioned Boise and that play he made. The play he made to me was, you can look at Coach Dutch and I. There's a reason we watch a lot of film. I mean, there's 2 different ways they line up. They either line up in football, which they did the time before, which you line up everybody out of bounds, or they line up that way and they expect to go deep. And if you were to rewatch it from the angle, you got Dutch and I pointing like they're throwing it deep. And BJ looks over at us and he goes and steals the pass and makes an unbelievable. And he used to be a football player, by the way. His dad's a football coach, brother's a football player. Like BJ's got football in his blood. I mean, you look like a free safety out there making that play and picking that play off. And he comes down, and I thought the most impressive thing, and if you can think back on it, the guy played really good defense the entire possession. He caught his first move one time, BJ went to crossover, he's still in front of him, and doesn't panic. He finds a way to get back to his 2 or 3 dribble in and out crossover to get to what his favorite shot is. And, we always say, get to your favorite stuff. Get to your favorite stuff in those moments. Especially into shot clock, into half, like get to your favorite move. And to get to his favorite move at that point in the game was just so huge. And he's so clutch. And he's just a real hooper. He's one of those guys. He just loves hoop. He has unbelievable instincts about him. He's one of those things. He's one of those guys and people that you don't teach a lot of the stuff he does. You recruit it. Go get a bucket, BJ, and go do it your way. Go get one. And he's hard to guard, and those are the hardest type of players to guard is when you can't really scout what he does because you can do it in so many different ways. And BJ's been awesome for us. I mean, I saw something today that he's, he has the highest free throw rate on our team and getting to the line, and he's top 10 in our league. And he's going to be, we need him. We need the best version of BJ. And he's been awesome coming off the bench as that 6-man, kind of a massive scoring punch that we need. And last year he coming from being a starter to come off the bench and producing at the way he is. I mean, why would you don't want to mess with that? I mean, he's producing at a level that's unbelievable. So we want to keep this rolling and keep the momentum that he has going as we go into our Nevada game.
It's interesting you say that. Dave Velasquez with us right now. San Diego State, Nevada tomorrow night, another conference game and a big one for the Aztecs in the Mountain West, a couple of 3-0 teams in the league. Starting or coming off the bench gets so much discussion, I think, just in basketball in general, high school, college, pro. But it's not like some of these other sports where it's like, well, if you're the starting pitcher in baseball, you're going to get a lion's share of the innings unless things don't go well. I mean, you could come off the bench and play 39 minutes and 59 seconds, theoretically. Does it deserve the amount of attention it receives? I know it means a lot to the players, too. I get it. I'm sure they want to start. But at the end of the day, you've had some brilliant players over the course of this program's history that have played a lot of quote-unquote bench minutes. Is it something that deserves the amount of attention it receives or not?
No.
Right.
To be honest, I mean, not at all. I mean, it would be if he's getting cut down way down on minutes or he wasn't, you're saying, okay, well, he could do even more had he been starting. It's like the efficiency numbers, his ability to defend 94 feet. I mean, everything about what BJ's doing is so good. It's you almost don't want to mess with that rhythm. I mean, he's being able to see the game and as it's going, and then he's coming off and he's playing longer stretches than the starters. Our starters usually come out by that, say, first media is at the 16-minute, somewhere between that 14 to 16-minute mark. When BJ goes in, I mean, he's not coming out until 7-8 minutes.
Right.
I mean, he's playing longer stretches. That first stretch is longer than a starter. So if you really go back and like really break it down, to me, it's not that I don't know. I don't read a lot and see a lot, but to us internally, no, it's not a, people are talking about it that much. We don't see it. I don't know about it. I think what we're doing right now is we're playing really good offense at times, and a lot of it has to do with BJ's role that he's in right now, and he's kicking butt doing it.
I got 2 more for you because I know you're about to board a flight. Can we talk 3-point strategy for a second? Just what to do with the 3-point lead, because this has come up as well. So Boise elects not to foul before BJ Davis hits that straight on 3. And I get it. Fouling can be very damaging. You foul in the wrong spot. Guy hits a shot. All of a sudden you can lose the game in that instance. Then San Diego State later in the game in the third overtime elects also not to foul. And I think by and large, that's been the strategy under Dutch over the last 8 or 9 seasons. What goes into it, that determination? Some teams are going to foul in the final few seconds of the 3-point lead. Other teams won't. Why or why not?
I think, well, first of all, you got to realize that over time with all the data we have, analytically, it all just depends, and for us, where we're at right now, what I mean by analytically, it's just not a surefire way to win or lose the game, whether you foul or not. There's been enough data out there that says that you can go basically either way, and it kind of depends on a few factors. One of the factors we talk about is, John, you've been at every game or seen every game.
Yep.
We are not very good on free throw box outs. It is what it is. I'm sure other teams show it, but it feels like every game we give up a rebound on a missed free throw. something we're very well aware of. We weren't very good at it last year. We worked all summer on it. We're still, for whatever reason, we are not very good free throw box out. So now you have a team that has to get a rebound on a missed free throw, a purposely missed free throw. We have to get that rebound. So you can start there. The second thing that you don't want to do, which if you saw the Notre Dame Cal game, which the Notre Dame coach talked about a little bit after, where he hit the and one, is if you don't practice it enough, like if it's not in your DNA, where you're going through it 3-4 times a week, where you've done it 20 to 30 times at practice in pressure situational situations, it's really hard to execute during the game. It's really hard. It sounds a lot easier than it is. And then the last thing is, it's kind of who are you playing? At that point in the game, I don't think either team was wrong not fouling personally. Where we were at, you said, what are we in third overtime for us?
Right.
I mean, you got to run all these plays and you got to find a way to get over shot. Once you got to have the legs to make, you got to have the rhythm in the legs. And so to me, there's a lot of things that go into that. And it's probably way too deep of an answer, but yeah, San Diego State in past years has fouled a lot, but we've also not fouled. And, Coach Steve Fisher was 100% of the time he was going to foul, but we worked on it all the time, and since Coach Dutch has taken over, do we most likely foul? Sure. But do we always foul? No.
I like that. That was a very good breakdown. I appreciate it. All right, one more. Nevada tomorrow. Nevada, like a lot of these teams in college basketball and even in the Mountain West, there's just a lot of turnover. That's just the nature of the business right now. And you look at what they've done, and they've been awfully impressive, obviously. The Boise home win by 15. They went to Colorado State and won going away. Elijah Price, the Fresno State transfer, has played very well for them. Corey Camper as well, others. What is it going to take tomorrow? What do you see from the Nevada Wolfpack?
The thing, and people ask me, is Nevada better than last year? We handled them pretty good the 2 times we played them. They're way better. They have more scoring from the guard spots. The players that they had returning are playing better than they did last year. Elijah Price is, if the season ended tomorrow, he's probably defensive player of the year in our league with his ability to block shots and just affect the game in multiple ways. So they're just a better basketball team. And the thing that's the most impressive and commend them with is they brought in all these type of scorers and guys that really want to shoot and guys that came from everywhere they came from. They're getting a lot of shots. And if they left, they were trying to be the guy that got a lot of shots, but their togetherness on defense and they're able to be so physical with you. I believe that they've given up in our 3 conference games that they've played 65 points, 62 points, 66 points. That's a life I'm used to, John.
Yeah.
Or we're all used to around here at San Diego State. And those type of teams that can hold teams in the 60s consistently end up at the top of this league. And they're doing a great job defensively right now. And that to me is where they've made their biggest strides with the guys they had coming in, with the returning guys they had back. Their defense is what's separating them right now in the league in their 3 league games. And then also when you have a bunch of guys that know how to get a bucket, like we just said about BJ Davis, just guys that can just break you down into shot clock, break out of a play and just go get you one. It makes everybody look good and it makes everybody feel good when the ball's going in.
Really good insight. Looking forward to tomorrow night, this showdown. They're all big games. This is included tomorrow night, 8 p.m. San Diego State in Reno taking on Nevada, a game you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760. Dave, always appreciate the time. Safe travels. I will see you tomorrow in Reno.
I appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me. And go Aztecs.
All right, so that was recorded yesterday. I am now in Reno, San Diego State, and Nevada coming up tonight at 8 p.m. Pregame coverage at 7. We'll have Mark Ziegler from the UT joining us live at 3:30. Let's get back to Wild Card Weekend and John Harbaugh out as Ravens head coach after 18 seasons. We react to that. John Schaefer, Sammy Long, stay with us right here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, the Aztecs back tonight. They are on the road here in Reno, taking on Nevada. Pre-game coverage at 7. I've got the tip for you right at 8, right here on your home for the Aztecs. San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer, Sammy Long until 4. J-Riff will be in from 4 to 6. Here today on San Diego Sports 760. If you missed our conversation with Will Brinson yesterday, we didn't talk about John Harbaugh, but we talked about everything else. You'll hear it coming up at 3, and then Mark Ziegler is going to join us live at 3:30. Continuing to react to this, Sammy, the news that John Harbaugh, after 18 seasons, and just seeing some of the things that are being said right now on social media, like winningest head coach of all time in sheer road playoff games, Super Bowl champion head coach. Look at his winning percentage, incredible regular season winning percentage in general. This is a pretty seismic NFL coaching shift. It's not unprecedented. We've seen change. We've seen the Andy Reids obviously depart, like we referenced earlier with Philadelphia. But this is one of the more this is a big shakeup, obviously. It's one thing to have the Browns replace their head coach. It's another thing for John Harbaugh after 2 decades to be out in Baltimore.
I think your Andy Reid comparison is very valid. Like this is the kind of head coach that he is. And to be fair now, I think Andy Reid's a better coach than John Harbaugh. But when Andy Reid went to the Chiefs, he hadn't won a Super Bowl. He had just been to a Super Bowl. John Harbaugh has won a Super Bowl back in 2012. I know it was a while ago, but still, I'm shocked by this. I'm curious what the litmus test was. Was this predetermined? If Tyler Loop makes that kick on Sunday, or are we sitting and they lose in the first round? Is he still a head coach? Did they have to win a couple games, or was it, unless he went and won a Super Bowl with a pretty depleted lineup, especially on defense? And we all saw the game on Sunday. Lamar Jackson's wearing a damn rib protector because he didn't play the week before. I wonder what the litmus test was, if you know about it. Brent, what do you think?
I think it's interesting you brought that up, Sammy, about, if Luke makes that kick, are we sitting here today talking about Mike Tomlin being out of a job?
Right, the ripple
Probably.
effect.
Yeah. Right? Because wasn't there already reporting coming out that Tomlin could have been ticketed for television, or, it could have stepped aside, not necessarily been fired, because it is Pittsburgh and that's so rare. But it's like, what's the movie, Brent? And what's the football movie? The Any Given Sunday, is it?
Any Given Sunday.
That is
Look
one.
at me referencing.
One football movie.
I've never seen it, but I've seen like the clips on social media where, like, it is true now in the NFL more so than ever. Tell me if I'm wrong. The margins are so damn thin. I mean, it really, when you come down to, I think I read somewhere, Sammy, maybe you saw this, in the 80,000 field goals ever attempted in NFL history, the one on Sunday night was the only in the history of the league that determined that one team was in the postseason or won their division, and the other team was out of the postseason. Like, it was such a unicorn of a kick, if you think about it. It's not like that exact moment happens each and every week or each and every season, but it does feel like when you look back on the NFL right now, the differences are so damn thin. Look at the Chiefs last year. They won every close game. They make a Super Bowl. Look at the Chiefs this year. They lose every close game. They're not in the postseason. Are they really that different of a team? I think metrically or analytically, people would probably support the fact that maybe the Chiefs were comparable, if not better, than 2024 and 2025. But it's these margins, and now we're making these wholesale seismic shift organizational changes based on small margins. But that's basically what sports are, at least at the professional level.
Well, it's crazy for John Harbaugh. So everyone's talking about the game Sunday against Pittsburgh. Let's go back a month. Let's go back a month to the game that Pittsburgh won in Baltimore. Probably shouldn't have won. If everyone remembers, Isaiah Likely, the tight end for the Ravens, caught the touchdown. There was a weird ruling where he took 1, 2, 3 steps, but they said it was moving when it looked like it wasn't. Had they scored the touchdown, we're talking about a completely different team in the playoffs. To your point about the margins, there's Tyler Loop misses the kick on the Sunday night. Like, 2 plays go different ways. The Isaiah Likely touchdown in Baltimore and the Tyler Loop kick in Pittsburgh, and John Harbaugh probably still has a job. I'm curious from the big picture. Like, we have so many head coaching openings. Raheem Morris fired in Atlanta, Stefanski out in Cleveland, Dable was fired in New York, and then Pete Carroll in Vegas. Just like, what is the most attractive opening? Because is it the Raiders with the number 1 pick, or is it the Giants? You'd think with all the young talent. I'm curious what becomes the most desired job, because I'm assuming Harbaugh is going to have his pick of the litter.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because you're going to hear Will Brinson on that coming up, because I think I asked a similar question to that, like, what's the more desired job? And then, of course, on the other side of it is Baltimore, which has become the most desired job, obviously, in the sport right now. I mean, when you think about prominent, preeminent, winning franchises, it's it's Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
But their standard, Baltimore's always good. Baltimore's
They're always
rarely
good.
just awful.
Yeah, it's different. Like I think I said this yesterday. It's like, there's franchises that have won at a higher clip, like higher ceilings. I mean, look at Kansas City's recent history. It's incredible, but that's not who Kansas City's always been. Or, look at Philadelphia the last decade. They've got multiple Super Bowls, but that's not who the Eagles have always been. Where Pittsburgh and Baltimore consistently win. That doesn't mean they've won every Super Bowl, although Pittsburgh has a lot, and Baltimore's got a couple too. I mean, just in terms of like proud, consistent winning franchises, I'm taking Baltimore, and maybe not at the top, but towards the top. A lot like Pittsburgh. It's one of those 2 to 5 franchises that falls out of bed with 9, 10, 11 wins, and I don't expect that to change on the other side of a coaching change.
Well, and to what you said about the Ravens do become the sexiest head coaching job in the league that obviously Harbaugh's not going to get because, hey, who wants to coach a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson? Like that's and by the way, a team that is just, if they bring everyone back, going to be better considering 3 guys in their front 7 got hurt. Wiggins got hurt in that game. They might win that Sunday night game if the star safety Kyle Hamilton doesn't go out with a concussion in the second quarter. So if you're a team lining up, I just don't know from a Baltimore perspective, who are you going to go get that moves it? Like, are you telling me Brian Dable is the most established name out there, or a Jason Garrett apparently is interviewing for the Titans job? Like, that's going to sell over John Harbaugh? I don't see that personally, but I guess maybe they do.
Who is going to take, who's going to help get Lamar Jackson to a Super Bowl? Who is going to help get Josh Allen to a Super Bowl? Those questions need to be answered because both of those quarterbacks at some point in their career should be destined for a Super Bowl, or hopefully at one point in their career will get to at least one. All right, more on this with Will Brinson on the other side, our senior NFL insider from CBS Sports. If you missed our conversation yesterday, you'll hear it with Will Brinson on the other side. Plus, Mark Ziegler will join us live at 3:30. He's in Reno as the Aztecs get set for the showdown tonight. San Diego State and Nevada coming up at 8 with pregame coverage at 7. John Schaefer, Sammy Long with you. Stay with us right here on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. In breaking NFL news, the Ravens have fired head coach John Harbaugh. Harbaugh was there for 18 seasons. He finished with a record of 193 and 124, and he won a Super Bowl in the 2012 season. Tonight, the Aztecs are on the road in Nevada to take on the Wolfpack. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start at 7 o'clock. John will have the tip a little after 8. For victims of drunk and drugged driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, hour 2. John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin in at 4 from 4 to 6. Ben Fletcher of Aztec pregame coverage, San Diego State, Nevada at 7. I'll be on the call at 8 p.m. tonight for the Aztecs and the Wolfpack. Now, Will Brinson joined us yesterday from CBS Sports. I don't know where we started this. I'm guessing we started it with Steelers-Ravens, but I don't know how I started it, Brent. And we don't talk about John Harbaugh because this was yesterday and we just found out Harbaugh was let go within the hour. All right, so we'll just say it starts in general with Steelers-Ravens. But so this was, again, Will Brinson yesterday. Mark Ziegler is going to join us live at 3:30 from the UT. We're going to hear from Jeff Saturday, by the way, coming up on Phillip Rivers as a potential NFL coaching candidate as well. So again, here until 4 p.m. Jonathan Rifkin's taken over from 4 to 6. But this was our conversation with Will Brinson from CBS Sports yesterday, starting with the insanity of Steelers-Ravens.
It's one of those things. It was TBD until the last minute, right?
Yeah.
Doing a little meta show reference. I think it was crazy. I mean, that game was a slugfest. It was Steelers-Ravens. Everything you expect from those two teams. Even before all the insane scoring in the fourth quarter, 2 touchdowns each from those two teams, it was like still a great game for the NFL on a Sunday night, even if it was a little bit sluggish. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. Aaron Rodgers had multiple chances, it felt like, to sort of imprint his mark, and then Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers just ripped it right back out of his hands. And you get the Chris Boswell close-up shots after he misses that extra point, his first one since like 2023, and immediately followed by, it felt like when they got Tyler Loop into range that it was going to be, and then they were like, it's a 44-yarder. It was like, ooh, 44-yarder in this stadium if you're a rookie. And sure enough, it goes wide right. If you got Aaron Rodgers kind of like tearing up and about to cry at the end of the game, it was probably pretty intense. And I guarantee that the ratings, for that Week 18 finale, which is what the NFL shoots for when it schedules those games on Sunday, will reflect exactly like just sort of the intensity of what we saw in the field.
It had everything you want. To your point, these huge franchises, these massive star quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and then a game decided on a final play, which often happens in the NFL. And that was truly remarkable to watch play out. Going back a day earlier to San Francisco's missed opportunity, and Seattle played very well, although left points out. I mean, they left San Francisco in this game all night long, seemingly. Yeah. Does San Francisco now have a path? The path was right there. This becomes so much more challenging. Can they do it with the path they now have in front of them or not?
They can, because they have an offense that is capable of putting up like 40 points on any given week. But I think the problem is you've got, whether it's the Eagles or the Seahawks or even the Rams to a degree, and the Rams defense not nearly as good as those other two, you now have to you're probably going to have to be pretty perfect on offense, because, the defense I thought the defense played pretty well. All things considered, like all the guys that have, they've lost throughout the year. But Seattle was opening up holes, and they were down a couple offensive linemen, and they were just opening up holes in that run game. And so there's just no room for error for that offense at any point. You have to go out as the 6th seed now, which means unless something just insane happens, you have to basically play every game on the road. If you end up playing Seattle, they're going to have a bye.
It's just become so much harder to play these tough defenses in the postseason if you're San Francisco, when you kind of have to know that you can't match what they can do on defense, and you really just have to win by outscoring the other team. And so like that to me is the big problem. It's like if you had that week to rest and you knew that you could, you got to go to Philly and beat this great Philly defense. First off, and if you do that, then you probably have to go to Seattle and beat that great Seattle defense just because of the way, unless Carolina pulls off an upset. You know what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah,
unless you get total breaks in the wild card, I was treating Carolina as a 7th seed
Right.
because they're 8-9. Unless everything breaks your way, you're going to have to win multiple games in a row against really good defenses. And I think that might be too much to ask for the Niners.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Will Brinson, CBS Sports, with us right now on Jon and Jim. So let's turn our attention to these 6 games this weekend between Saturday and Monday. I guess, which of them are you most looking forward to? Just quickly in the NFC: Packers, Bears, Niners, Eagles, Rams, Panthers, AFC, Chargers, Patriots, Bills, Jags, Steelers, Texans. Which is most intriguing maybe coming up this weekend?
I think Bills Jags is kind of the most intriguing, not just because it's on CBS and Paramount Plus. Josh Allen's been gifted this Mahomes-free playoff run, this opportunity to a Mahomes-free playoff. Jacksonville, and it's like, okay, Jacksonville's defense has been really good, and their offense has been awesome. Trevor Lawrence has a playoff win in his career, that crazy comeback against the Chargers, so he's experienced. But it's like, can the Jags manage to take, because if you take the Bills out, like you take the Bills out of the playoffs, and all of a sudden, Herbert with no offensive line, Drake May playing his first playoffs. You have, of course, the Broncos who have a great defense, but Bo Nix playing in his first playoffs. You have Rodgers and like CJ Stroud, but I don't think either of those offenses terrify you. It's like, take out the Bills, and everything is on the table for the Jaguars. But as a reward for this incredible season, somehow that you got sniped by the Patriots and the Broncos in terms of seeding, you do have to play the best quarterback in football, the reigning MVP, and a guy who absolutely is aware of what's at stake for him in a year where the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs. So I think it's like that game to me really makes or breaks the AFC bracket, because if Josh Allen gets through, it changes everything for everybody else. And if you're the Jaguars and you knock Josh Allen out, all of a sudden you really feel like you have a legitimate chance at the Super Bowl, with this former number 1 overall pick who's playing the best football of his career and a first-year head coach. Which
I never even considered. Maybe that's my bad, but the idea of Jacksonville in the Super Bowl, even putting together this great year, it's just, I don't know, you almost don't even consider it, but I guess that is at least a possibility depending on.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of amazing to think about. All right, so today traditionally,
let's not forget we got the when Ohio State wins the national title the year before, which they did last year, obviously, and then J-Lo gets divorced. When those two things happen in the same year, the Panthers have been to the Super Bowl every year, and the Panthers have to play the Jaguars in Week 1. When those 3 things happen, the Panthers have been to the Super Bowl every year, and it would be also, I think, 30 years. The 30-year. Is it 30 years or 31 years? It's some kind of anniversary of like the Panthers and Jaguars coming into the NFL. Maybe it's 31, but still, you get the point. Like these two like expansion franchises meeting in the Super Bowl would be hilarious.
Yeah, don't give me that. Give me anything but that. Truthfully,
I think everybody agrees. Everybody agrees.
Will Brinson with us right now. All right, traditionally a Black Monday in the NFL. We've seen some firings. There were already a couple of vacancies. Which is the best of these jobs that are currently open in the NFL?
I think it's a good question. I guess it depends on your evaluation of Jackson Dart or Michael Penix, right? Okay, and then you could also make the case like Mendoza out of Indiana. The problem with the Raiders is they had the number 1 overall pick. It's insane that this is the first time they had the number 1 overall pick since Jamarcus Russell in 2007. Like they've been a terrible franchise for years, and they just have never gotten the number 1 overall pick. I think if you love Jackson Dart, then the Giants is probably the answer. The problem is, well, I guess it's not necessarily a problem, but like Joe Shane, you have this thing the Giants did where they didn't get rid of the GM. And so they're bringing in a coach at a different time with the GM who's already on the hot seat. And if you're not great in your first year, then there might be a new GM who's coming in. You don't know if you're gonna be able to pick him or not. And so like there's always sort of like layers to a power struggle there. I think Atlanta you can make a pretty good case for because Raheem Morris, added some pieces on defense with their pass rush. They have AJ Terrell on the back end. And then, of course, you have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. And, we'll see what happens. Especially we think Cousins is going to move on. But you have Penix, who hadn't been healthy dating back to college, but is, a top pick who was widely regarded. And so I think I would lean towards Atlanta. The Browns are the Browns. You got to deal with that. Arizona, you're stepping into a job where you're competing against Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay, and Kyle Shanahan every year for the next decade plus minimum, which good luck with that. You don't know what the quarterback situation is. And then, the Titans still rebuild. If you love Cam Ward, maybe you could talk yourself into that. But I think, Atlanta is probably the answer, especially in a division where they just tied for first and fired their coach.
Yeah, I like the way you broke that down. I mean, it is an interesting break. There's certain jobs you just don't win in. Cleveland, the Cardinals, like you said. I mean, good luck. Again, could you pop up occasionally and have a year? I guess, but can you consistently win in some of these spots? It's just more challenging.
Well, it's the same thing you can apply to the Raiders too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to coach against Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, and Sean Payton for at least the next 5 years. I mean, good luck with that.
Well, we're looking forward to this weekend. Appreciate you taking time for us, and let's catch up again when we've got these divisional matchups set.
Sounds good. See you next week.
All right, so that was Will Brinson, again, our senior NFL insider from CBS Sports that joined us yesterday. Mark Ziegler is going to join us from the UT, live here from Reno coming up at 3:30, Aztecs and Nevada Wolfpack at 8 p.m. tonight with pregame coverage at 7. John Schaefer and Sammy Long hanging out until 4 p.m. Jonathan Rifkin, J. Riff will take you home from 4 to 6 this afternoon. On the other side, this man would know a thing or two about stepping into the NFL head coaching realm. Jeff Saturday on the idea of Phillip Rivers being a head coach in the NFL. You'll hear from Jeff Saturday on the other side. Mark Ziegler at 3:30 with you until 6 p.m. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, starting next Monday, San Diego Sports 760 has 16 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. It's the Bonus Bucks contest. Listen at the top of every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. starting next Monday. Listen for the keyword and enter at sportssd.com. It starts next Monday at 6 a.m. Mark Ziegler will join us coming up live from Reno at 3:30, so in about 10 or so minutes. We'll get you ready for tonight, this showdown in the Mountain West between 3-0 San Diego State and 3-0 Nevada. John Schaefer, Sammy Long with you until 4. J-Riff, Jonathan Rifkin will take over at 4 p.m. And we're reacting to some NFL news today. A newsy NFL Tuesday. Black Monday was yesterday, but John Harbaugh was fired earlier today by the Baltimore Ravens. We haven't even touched on this. We'll hear from Jeff Saturday coming up, Sammy, but this idea of Phillip Rivers, who obviously returned to the NFL as a player over the last month and now may be considered a candidate to be a head coach in the NFL. How do you see him as a candidate to be a head coach? Is that something that Phillip Rivers should want to be considered for? I mean, these are tough jobs. Should we wish that on Phillip Rivers this offseason or not?
Well, I think obviously Phillip has not that I know Phillip Rivers, but has an interest in being around the game. He came back knowing it was probably a long shot for the Colts to make the playoffs and still wanted to be it. You know, he's coaching his son in Alabama in high school. Brent and I were laughing. They were talking to Jeff Saturday on PTI, asking him what it's like to be a coach. And my first reaction was, what does Jeff Saturday know about being a head coach? But I guess when he got pulled from ESPN to be the Colts interim head coach for half a season, I think Phillip Rivers would be a great coach. I mean, people love Phillip Rivers, like everyone's teammate, everyone who's ever talked to Phillip Rivers. I mean, obviously we know Rich Ornberger, who has raves about Phillip Rivers. It would be awesome to see him be a coach. Now, do I wish upon him to become an NFL head coach immediately, having never really coached before, and then being under that kind of scrutiny? To your point, it would kind of be cool to see him be an offensive coordinator first and then show his chops and then become a head coach. But hey, if he gets a head coach, I think San Diego would support Phillip Rivers, and that might be the new team that San Diego supports. But it would be cool to see Phillip Rivers just back in the NFL in totality.
I mean, I would love listening to him speak. Yeah, and he's got so much credibility, and nobody's going to question like his football mind or his IQ. And of course, he played as hard of a position as there is in sports. So on one hand, you're like, okay, like you've got some of the acumen, and he's been coaching, albeit at the high school level. On the other hand, though, it's like you're going from high school football to the NFL after playing literally like a week ago. Brent, what do we have here? This was Jeff Saturday talking about. Now, Jeff Saturday would know a thing or two about doing this. He went from former player to thrust into a head coaching job. And Jeff Saturday comments on the possibility of Phillip Rivers as a head coach, right, Brent?
Yeah, he was on PTI this afternoon. This was his advice for Phillip Rivers.
Any advice for Phillip Rivers, who has not coached at this level, has not done it before?
Boy, you better keep yourself at a high school and enjoy the heck out of it, man, because it ain't just coaching. I can assure you. Yeah, he's plenty good enough to go coach. I have no problem. I could do the same. It's all the other pieces and parts you got to deal with, man. And a lot of those, you don't always get to pick the ingredients, and you don't get to pick the recipe, which makes it really difficult. He's done well enough in his life. He don't need the added stress. Would he be an addition to any team? Absolutely. But be careful what you wish for. You down in Alabama living the good life with them 10 kids, don't rush yourself out of that NFL. Enjoy them 10 kids, buddy. Yeah, enjoy your life. I can promise you on this side of it, I don't get heckled come Monday. Life is good on this side.
I'll tell you what, man, Sammy, I mean, again, you've seen some of these coaches that have done amazing jobs year in and year out. And, but for every Andy Reid, there's Black Monday, where a quarter of the league loses their job. And for every Bill Belichick, there's Black Monday. For every John Harbaugh, there's Black Monday. He's even included in it this year on Black Tuesday, so to speak. So it's like, you better know what you're getting into, is my point. When you take a job in the NFL, I would say the same thing as a manager in Major League Baseball, or certainly as a head coach like in the NHL. They change every like 12 months on average across all these sports. You better know the day you're hired, you're being hired to be fired, because the odds suggest you've got 24 to 30 months, and some are getting less than that. So if Phillip Rivers is comfortable with that, then I say, by all means, put your hat in the ring. But if you think this is the next 20 years of your life with one franchise, the odds suggest that's not the case.
Well, and look at the Eagles. Look at Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni
out the door.
literally won a championship last year. And if you turn on, John, you know this, you're from Philadelphia. If you turn on Philadelphia radio and they get bounced on Sunday by San Francisco, people are going to call him for Sirianni's head. The NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. And in some other sports, again, not a lot of them, like, you know, if you're the coach of the Orlando Magic, you might have a little bit of leeway down there in Orlando, not knowing it's not the Lakers or the Knicks. I kind of wonder if these first-time head coaches kind of is starting with, like, look at the Lakers and JJ Redick. JJ Redick was hired, would be kind of a Phillip Rivers type hire, and it's two different sports, but JJ Redick hadn't coached a lick. He coached his son's AAU team. That's what he coached. And then all of a sudden he's being introduced as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most coveted jobs in sports. So it would be kind of what it would be like in the NFL. Obviously, to Saturday's point, Phillip Rivers knows football. No one's going to question his football knowledge, but there's a lot that goes into that, accumulating a staff. Would offensive and defensive coordinators want to attach themselves to a guy who, although was a great quarterback and potential Hall of Famer, has never coached before? I think you'd worry about, could you get the coordinators that you want in place to have a success? I think it's unneeded stress for Phillip Rivers, but for selfishly, it would be cool to see.
It would definitely be cool to see. And then back to where we started this conversation, which was the shocking news that John Harbaugh is out. You sent me a tweet from Adam Schefter about the Giants expressing interest already in John Harbaugh. And now Adam Schefter's followed up by saying in the first 45 minutes after John Harbaugh was fired, his agent, Brian Harlan, said he received calls from 7 NFL teams expressing interest in his client. Schefter went on to say there are currently 7 NFL head coaching vacancies, including Baltimore's, which means there's one team that doesn't have a vacancy that has reached out to John Harbaugh, John Harbaugh's agent. So listen, most teams, not all teams, but most teams should be willing to potentially part ways with their current head coach if John Harbaugh is in fact interested in that job. Again, not all teams, but there's got to be 10, 12, 15 teams that if John Harbaugh was truly interested, you would have an interest in pursuing him, even if you had a sitting head coach.
It's just so shocking to me, and I know we got to get to break here in a second, but the name linked to the Ravens right now, per Diana Rossini, it's not a front runner, but they're talking about it, is Cliff Kingsbury. Now, it's ironic that Cliff Kingsbury parted ways with Washington earlier in the day. Now, all of a sudden, we get the John Harbaugh news. I've been a Cliff Kingsbury fan. He mentored Mahomes at Texas Tech. I thought he kind of got the short end of the stick there in Arizona. He took Jaden Daniels in that offense in Washington when he was healthy 2 years ago to the NFC Championship game. But if I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, unless Lamar's like on board with this, it's a tough sell to go from John Harbaugh to Cliff Kingsbury. Not that Cliff Kingsbury's a bad head coach, but someone who has never really proven it before, and try to sell that you're somehow better going into next year. But if that's the guy, I guess we'll see.
All right, we're going to switch gears back to the Aztecs. This showdown in the Mountain West tonight in Reno against 3-0 Nevada in the league. 2 3-0 teams in the Mountain West squaring off tonight at 8 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Mark Ziegler will join us live with more on the Aztecs, their emerging bubble possibilities with January now underway, the play of B.J. Davis at point guard, and more. Mark Ziegler from the UT joins us next. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. In NFL news, the Ravens have fired John Harbaugh less than 48 hours after losing to the Steelers and failing to reach the playoffs. Harbaugh is 12th all-time in wins. Tonight, the Aztecs are in Nevada to take on the Wolfpack. Our pregame coverage with Fletch will start around 7 o'clock, and John will have the tip after 8. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change your future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
All right, John Schaefer, Sammy Long. I'm in Reno. Sammy's back in our San Diego Sports 760 studios. Aztecs and Nevada Wolfpack coming up tonight at 8 with pregame coverage beginning at 7 p.m. Brent, we've got Mark with us. All right, Mark Ziegler, kind enough to join us right now. Also in Reno for the San Diego Union Tribune. Mark, hopefully your voice is better than mine, man. I'll tell you what, doing the 3 overtime game followed by a lot of solo radio shows, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but hopefully I'll be all right here tonight. Let's talk about what's on the line here. A couple of 3-0 teams, San Diego State and Nevada. Is this the type of game? I know it's still early in the conference schedule, but from like a bubble perspective, does San Diego State need a game like this to get itself back in that bubble conversation?
I don't know if a win over Nevada is going to be what pushes them into the NCAA tournament, because this is a team that lost to UC Davis early in the season at home, I believe. It's one of those games where they can just start making up ground. As momentous as that win was against Boise State, they actually lost ground in the KenPom metric. They were one spot ahead of Boise going into the game, and then they came out of it, and Boise had jumped them. So they need to win games, but they also need to make up ground in the metrics. And in most of the metrics, they're in the 60s and low 70s, and they need to get those into the 40s. And so, it's not like the end all be all game, but it's one of those games where they can start to sort of chip away at that with a win.
Mark, when you look at the Boise State win, when you look at that game as a whole, do you view that as like a team building game that could change them going forward? Or do you see that as they kind of held on and choked an opportunity away, as you mentioned, to move up in the metrics?
I think it's been a pretty positive vibe. I was at practice yesterday as a shoot around today, and they seem in pretty good spirits. I just think when you play in these multiple overtime games, and obviously they had one earlier in the season against Troy and lost it, it really put them in a little bit of a funk. I mean, they had to go to Vegas 6 days later. They played Michigan, of course, who's beaten everybody, but they lost by 40, and they never do that. And so I think it had a little bit of a residual effect. And so I think they get a little bit of a bump from this, just from a confidence standpoint, that they gutted it out and they won it. I just think when you lose these games, it is devastating for you. You're exhausted. You put so much into it, and it feels like more than just one loss.
Mark Ziegler from the UT with us right now on Jon and Jim. I'm just kind of daydreaming back on Saturday before we look ahead. Is it more surprising to you that San Diego State blew a 24-point lead? But here's the thing, it was in the first half and there were still 20-plus minutes, so you will see that, even though it's not happening every day. Or was it more surprising that Boise couldn't hold a 6-point lead in the final seconds of overtime?
Well, I think the thing that I learned from watching that Troy game is in the overtimes, these players are exhausted and crazy stuff happens. Right. They're going to make mental mistakes because they're fatigued. So, yeah, that was pretty alarming, a 6-point lead with, inside 15 seconds to go, and they blew it. But it took a couple really incredible plays by San Diego State and an incredible sequence by B.J. Davis there. But, them losing the 24-point lead, that's a huge, particularly at home, that's a large amount of points to give up. And Boise played very well in the second half and very loose. That was the thing I noticed. They were just very loose and free, like, we got nothing to lose. They made every free throw and they made seemingly every 3-pointer. And I think San Diego State kind of tightened up a little bit, like, oh my gosh, we can't lose this lead. We can't lose this lead. And so, it's just such a weird, this is such a weird team. It's so inconsistent. And I think we're going to probably see a lot more of that throughout the season. They were kind of inconsistent last year too, with a lot of these same guys. So I think it's just sort of carried over. And from a fan standpoint, you want to see exciting basketball. Well, you're going to see it with these guys. Unpredictable basketball, you're going to see it with these guys. I don't think they're just going to go start rolling through teams.
BJ Davis, I think, to this point, has probably been the team MVP. Leading the team in scoring, 22 points against Boise. Do you think there's any thought to switch up the starting lineup and inserting him in it, or do they like him coming off the bench as kind of a six man?
I think he's like gotten so good and playing so well that why would you mess with it? And it's not like he's getting bench minutes. I mean, he's starting to he played 40 minutes in that game, and he's starting to get beyond starters minutes. On this team, starters minutes is anything over 20. And so he's getting that. So I think mentally he's starting to accept it a little bit more, and maybe he's starting to buy into the idea that, maybe just starting the first 3 minutes on the bench and seeing how the game goes and coming in, maybe people are a little bit tired. And also I think maybe he kept a little bit of pressure there at the end. So he could do some stuff. So I think he's starting to accept it. I know he didn't at first. He really wanted to start, but I don't think you mess with that. And the other thing is, who are you taking out? I mean, you've got two veterans in Miles Byrd and Reese Waters. And I mean, that would be a huge blow to take either of those guys out of the starting lineup. And then Elsie Harrington is a freshman. But I mean, you got to think about next season. You got to, if you're going to be any good next season, you're going to have Elsie Harrington, and you don't want to give him any reason to transfer.
Mark Ziegler from the UT with us right now. San Diego State, Nevada coming up tonight at 8 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760. Continuing the BJ Davis conversation, what have you made of the kind of evolvement of where he's playing, on the floor offensively? He's playing more on ball. He did it in the final 5+ minutes against San Jose State. That really worked to their advantage. A little bit of a curveball there. And then Boise, I would expected to see it, and they saw it a good amount. I mean, BJ Davis was running point for a good portion of that game. What do you think happens next with BJ Davis? Is that going to continue? He's going to be playing more on ball, lead point guard in the second half of the year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's sort of the arc of his season. I mean, I think people didn't expect much from him this year and expected him to sort of be the odd man out with so much firepower at the off guard. He wasn't known as a guy who was really good with his decision making on ball, much better, as a two guard. And he's proved everybody wrong at every turn. That he could be the primary scorer on this team with this many experienced and veteran guys and highly touted guys, and that he could run the point, and he's done both those things. So I think you just kind of have to go with it. And it's amazing because everyone at the beginning of the season just assumed, well, they brought in this guy who was number 3 in assists in the NCAA last year, Sean Newman. He would run the point and be a pure point guard, and he'd be passing off guards like Miles Byrd and Reese Waters, and he's probably number 4 right now. And then Taj DeGorville wins the job in the fall camp, and then he's knocked down the bench. And then a freshman comes and starts and seems to have won the job. And now BJ Davis is running the point in crunch time. So it just goes to show you that, and this is across all college teams, these are still developing players, and their games are changing and morphing and transforming, and you just don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes even, 1 week to the next.
Dave Velasquez has talked about on this show with John about how just because the starting 5 isn't like the best 5 players in that game will likely be closing the game. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the fact that the Aztecs play 10 to 11 guys? Do you like that, or do you wish they'd shrink the rotations a little bit?
Well, I think they want to shrink the rotation, but they can't. I mean, who are you leaving out? Who has separated themselves? I mean, other than BJ, who has said, okay, I got to be in there, I got to be out there, and I got to take, I have to be out there, so that's going to take minutes away from someone else? Or who has really fallen off? I mean, Sean Newman didn't play as much as his last game, but he hasn't played terrible. I mean, he hasn't played like, oh, you can't have him on the floor. You can't, Taj DeGorville had a stretch where he didn't play very well and kind of played himself out of the starting lineup, but he hasn't played himself out of the rotation. And so I think that's the conundrum. But if you notice, when games are close, you don't even have a choice. You have to pick 5 guys and play them. And there's only been 3 close games this year. Troy, and you saw that. You just saw 5 guys playing in the overtimes. The San Jose State game, which is a 2-point game with 5 minutes to go, what did? They went small and played that lineup the rest of the game. And Magoon Guak did not play down the stretch. And then you look at this last game, they played basically 6 guys to the 3 overtimes. That's 15 minutes of basketball. That's a lot of basketball with only 6 guys. But so I think it's starting to sort of shrink itself by necessity, but maybe not by their choice.
Mark, one more before you go. I know you've written on this and reported on it. Magoon Guath, who's still returning from a knee, and I had Dave Velasquez yesterday. He kind of mentioned that late in that game against Boise, maybe, again, he came out at the 8:30 mark, didn't return for the rest of regulation or the overtimes. That maybe he took a hip at some point in there, and he was just kind of sore and bothered by it. Do you have any feel for what Magoon is going through right now, like in his arc of getting back to where he hopes to be? Is he approaching where he hopes to be, or is this something that's going to play out over the course of not just the next few weeks, but potentially over the course of the next 6 or 12 months into the next year?
I think the frustrating part is nobody knows. I think, people kind of thought, okay, let's temper our expectations, and, it's going to take him a while to get back. It'll take him a month or so. Then he comes out and has 20 points the first game. That was the Troy game, and looked really good. But he's kind of progressively sore, different parts of his body, not his repaired knee. His other knee is, I think, kind of hurting him a little bit. And he's got sore, and he's stiffening up as the games go on. That's kind of happened in San Jose. It happened again on Saturday against Boise. And he already isn't moving as well as he could. So I just think people don't, I think they're just kind of at a loss for how long it's going to take. And, they're trying to remain optimistic and think that, okay, by the middle end of season, he'll be back to somewhat of what we expected. But I think kind of creeping in the back of everyone's minds is that maybe it doesn't happen, and maybe he's like this the whole year. And so I think those frustrations are in his mind. Same thing going on with Miles Bird. I think they've both kind of been talked about as NBA prospects, and they're going to come back and play the season, and they'll go to the NBA. Well, neither of them are in draft boards right now, or any radars even. And that's how bad it's gotten. And so I think on a young mind, that really preys on you, because you're like, wait a minute, I was an NBA prospect and now I'm not. I'm no good. And so there's a confidence issue on top of the physical issue. And I think that's all just kind of stewing around in there. And maybe he'll take one breakout game and he'll be fine, or maybe he'll take a breakout week. I don't know. But I think they're just kind of going game by game, day by day, practice by practice, sub-rotation by sub-rotation, and trying to manage it.
Yeah, it's just kind of fascinating, the adversity that a team and individuals face over the course of one college basketball season. And it happens throughout. It's not just this year, this Aztec team. It's just the business of college basketball. Mark, appreciate you doing it. I will see you over at Lawler coming up tonight. And thanks for hopping on as always.
Yeah, no problem. Talk to you guys.
All right. Great stuff from Mark Ziegler at the UT. By the way, John Rothstein at CBS Sports is reporting that the players that San Diego State listed as questionable today are expected to be available. Now, I haven't heard that locally, but let me find the tweet, because he tweeted out, where is it? Magoon Guath, Pharaoh Compton, Tay Simmons, BJ Davis, and Reese Dixon Waters are all available for tonight's game against Nevada, per a school spokesman. Aztecs have won 3 straight. So that was John Rothstein, who covers college basketball, earlier today. All right, we're going to come back one final time. Jonathan Rifkin takes over at 4 p.m. It's John Schaefer and Sammy Long. Aztecs have a big one tonight in Reno. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. All right, final time, John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin. Jay Riff will take over at 4 p.m., so he's got you covered for your drive home from 4 to 6 today. Then Ben Fletcher has Aztec pregame at 7, tip-off at 8 p.m. tonight from Lawler Event Center in Reno, Nevada at Elevation, where the twists and turns of the Mountain West will continue here tonight. San Diego State and Nevada. So one eye on that. Another eye on the calendar flipping to 2026 from a Padres perspective. It's quiet. They don't land the Japanese stars. We'll see what they do from a free agency perspective. Is a big trade still in store for A.J. Preller? We're waiting on that. And then there's the NFL. Black Monday turning into Black Tuesday with John Harbaugh. And, oh, by the way, Wild Card Weekend is this weekend where you've got 6 games and 12 teams, and who of these teams is most likely to maybe get to a Super Bowl? There's just so much going on right now, Sammy, nationally and locally with sports.
And then the other one that everyone's waiting on is the over-under of when John will get his co-host. So I think we could set that. Is that going to be
in 2026?
Yeah, I think. Is that where we're setting it at? In February 2026?
I'm just setting it to 2026.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could, Brent, let us know. I was kicking around over-under a days. Could we do 10.5? Is that fair? Is Vegas going to short that number?
Yeah, 10.5. I will take that. I'll take that right now.
I mean, here's the thing. John, it will happen sometime in 2026.
Yes,
happen in
I'll take that bet.
We're 6 days into the year, which is only 2 radio shows because we didn't work, right, Brent? We didn't work January 1st. I don't think I've worked since the 1st other than yesterday. So we're 2 radio shows into the year, and I already have no voice. I'm already losing my mind. I'm already trying to do too many things at once. It's a lot. So I got to get my voice back first and foremost, which I think I will. I should be fine in that regard. Famous last words. We'll see how tonight treats us.
Yeah.
But Sammy, I appreciate you, man, because I don't know where I'd be right now without you hanging out for the last couple hours.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, man. I love being on with you guys. It's I've obviously been a fan all these years, listening to you three, but no, to hang out. We need the preeminent voice in San Diego to be good to go for tonight, because I think that they would be everyone. If you couldn't talk tonight, then Fletch, Brent, and I would be getting DMs of people pissed off that we let you go on there not having a voice doing a 4-hour show.
Yeah, I mean, the show has to go on. It's so funny. In my entire career, I'm trying to think. I mean, I've had basically every winter, and I don't know if most people are like this in San Diego or just in general. I think most people in winter get sick.
Yeah.
Like, basically, you're going to get sick one time in the winter. Sometimes it impacts my voice, sometimes it doesn't, or sometimes it impacts my throat, sometimes it doesn't. But I think in my whole career, I've only lost my voice, and this is dumb to say because I'm going to lose it, but I think I've only lost it way back when I was doing minor league baseball games. I remember I was on the road once. This is like 20 years ago, 20 years ago. I was on the road. I couldn't talk. So I think I had the visiting radio guys, interns, fill in doing a game or 2 or even 3 for me when I was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or Kinston, North Carolina, and I was on the road, and it was a disaster. There's nothing worse than what we do. I mean, it's take your line of work. It's if you're I don't even know, what's the comp? I mean, it's like being an athlete if you're injured. It's you can't play. I mean, if you're a sports talk host, you can't talk. I mean, what good are you?
To that end, I've been on air a little over a year and a half, and I've had headaches, I've had kind of injuries, been I don't care. But the second that I feel my throat's going out, it's I feel the hint of a sore throat, I start freaking out because I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. So yeah, this is our instrument, John. I don't know how rock stars go on the road, and then they got to sing at the top of their lungs every night.
Well, again, yeah, you're right. It is the instrument. You're right. I'm a hypochondriac as well. And then it also becomes a little bit of a mental game. And to your point, once Jim left, I knew I was doing more solo work. That entails, it's if you're playing basketball 5-on-4, everyone's got to pick up some of the slack if there's not 5 guys out there, or trying to kill off a penalty in hockey. That takes more work than having 5 guys on the ice in hockey. So I think it's a combination of 3 overtime game, not sleeping well Saturday, not being 100% healthy, doing solo shows, traveling the country. Again, they're excuses. It's nobody wants to hear about it. I'll tell you what, right now, tonight in Reno, nobody wants. If San Diego State doesn't win this game, nobody's going to say, well, Magoon's working himself back from injury, and Reese Dixon-Waters missed all of last year with a foot, and the team's still rounding it to form, and it's nobody cares. It's like, don't tell me about the labor pain, show me the baby, and it's what we signed up for, right?
Yeah, well, I'm to your point about tonight. It is funny. It's the Aztecs are in a little bit different spot because they've been dogs this year, but they've been dogs in Vegas against the Arizonas, the Baylors, the Michigans, the teams that everyone expected them to be. But now they're in a little bit different spot because I believe this is the first time that they're underdogs in Mountain West Conference play so far. So a little bit different going on the road. Maybe that kind of invigorates the team in that they're not really playing with not only do you need to win, but you need to win by 6 or 10 or whatever the line is. It's hopefully they go in and get a big win tonight because it would certainly build a lot of momentum after that Boise State game with the highs and lows of that one.
To your point, Sammy, it's kind of like you wonder if they come out a little looser and freer because, again, you don't have to win. It's the type of win that you could really use on your resume at this point, but you're probably lacking this type of win. Again, it's not, to Mark's point earlier, it's not Michigan or Arizona. It's not top 20 win, but it's the type of win that you could use. So we'll see if they come out loose and free. And also to your point on they've been favored in these 3 conference games. I feel as if what I've liked about the schedule is it feels like with each passing game, it's gotten a little more challenging. Air Force at home, the easiest. No disrespect, but the easiest of the 3. San Jose State on the road, the second easiest. No disrespect. Boise State at home, the hardest of those 3. And I would argue playing at Nevada at elevation against a team that's won 7 straight, went undefeated in December, didn't get off to a great start. They were 4-3, but now they've won 7 consecutive games. This, to me, is the stiffest test they faced so far in the league, but they've kind of built up to it. And I felt like they needed some momentum. And I feel like for the first time this year, and Mark touched on this because he was at practice yesterday and at shoot around today, he feels like they're playing, or maybe they have some confidence about them that maybe they lacked. I mean, they got into conference play, they were like 6-4. Right. They hadn't had a stretch of 4 or 5 games, even if they were guarantees or bye games, where they're just beating up on people and beating team after team after team by 20 or 30 points. They really haven't experienced that by and large so far this season. So now that they've won 3 straight, now that they're at the top of the Mountain West standings, they've got Fresno on the other side of this at home. This to me is one of those like swingy, hingy games. You win it, you're 4-0 coming home from Fresno. You got serious momentum if you can win this game. If you lose it, it's not the end of the world. It's a 20-game conference season. You don't have crazy margin, but I do think it can be overcome. I just feel like tonight is the night you can begin to make inroads in your quest to get to the NCAA tournament as an at-large team. Again, you're not supplanting yourself. You're not making the tournament, but tonight is the night you can begin to start or to continue to build your resume from an at-large perspective.
And I know we're about to get out of here, but it is like, it's interesting about how last year they kind of made the tournament off that Houston win. They made their hay off that week in Vegas and Thanksgiving, and then they kind of stumbled down the stretch of Mountain West Conference play in the middle of it. And this year is kind of, hopefully, if we're looking optimistically, the opposite. They didn't have the Players Era tournament that they wanted to have with a couple tough losses in that one, but the one Oregon win was nice. And then maybe, to your point of them kind of increasing competition gradually, if you take away the whole at-large thing, we'll see if they have an at-large bid. That's kind of all up in the air. I know you can talk to that a lot better than I can, but them just solely focusing on Mountain West, on the Mountain West Conference play, can be a little bit more beneficial than constantly worrying about where they at in the metrics, where are they in all this. So hopefully, if we're looking positively, that starts tonight.
Sammy, appreciate the overtime this afternoon. I think you're going to swing by again tomorrow with me back in studio for an hour, and I appreciate that. And great job. Appreciate you, man.
John, you're the best, brother. Brent, thank you, brother.
All right, Sammy Long, you can catch him tomorrow beginning at noon on the Fletch Zone with Ben Fletcher. Jonathan Rifkin on the other side until 6 p.m. Ben Fletcher has our pregame coverage beginning at 7. I'll be on the call. I'm going to go get some tea. San Diego State and Nevada tonight at 8. This is San Diego Sports 760.